We've got a wonderful trick selection to teach you guys today. We're going to start off talking about power slides and reverts. Then we're going to move on to crab walks, teaching you how to get up an obstacle. Then we're going to talk about shove-its. And if you're lucky and pay attention, Coach just might share another one of his favorite tricks with you to wrap up the day. Go ahead and stretch out, get ready, let's get to skating. Before we get started, it's important to understand what's happening to our boards as we power slide. A power slide is when we're rolling forward on our wheels and we kick the back of the board out, allowing those wheels to slide. Power slides, like most skate tricks, can be done front side or back side, fakie or switch. It's all up to you. But when you're learning the power slide, I personally recommend approaching the 180s, as it's going to involve more commitment and you're going to have a better chance of understanding the feeling of power sliding. So we're going to go ahead and break down those power slides. I'm going to start off showing you backside 180s, front side 180s, and then we're going to wrap up with speed checks, which is where we kick our board out, but instead of fully rotating, we're going to bring it back in and continue moving forward. So make sure you're stretched out and let's start power sliding. So now that we understand what's going to be happening, let's start trying it. Again, it's important to remember that confidence and commitment are key. You're never going to land a trick that you don't think you're going to land. So believe in yourself. Even if it's foolhardy, the worst thing that's going to happen, we're going to fall down, get back up, and do it again. Starting off with power slides can be intimidating because it does require that commitment, and like almost all skate tricks, they're easier when you're moving faster. The trade-off, of course, is that things often get scarier at high speeds. So find a happy medium where you've got some momentum, but you're not sweating the speed that you're getting. To start off, we're going to go ahead and push in the way we talked about last week with our front foot on the bolts. Our back foot's going to go to the tail. And as you're riding, what I want you to think about is your shoulders are going to generate the leverage you need to spin around. So to do a backside 180, we're going to wind our shoulders up, throw them, and our feet are going to try to mirror what's happening with our shoulders, much like our kick turns. Let's go ahead and do a few and see what they look like. Now it's important to remember, after completing your power slide 180, you're now going to be riding fakie. Resist the urge to not move your head. As a general rule, we always look where we want to go on our skateboards. If you're staring at your ground, that's where you're going to end up. If you're looking out, that's where you're going to roll to. So as your body pivots through the 180, make sure that that head wraps around, pick that spot you want to get to, and make it there safely. Go ahead and try them out now. Common problems with learning to power slide is wondering, how am I supposed to fall? Because falling is an essential part of learning how to skateboard. I recommended the backside 180s because as you begin to do them, you can keep your hands out in front of you, and if you need to, overcommit towards your hands. It's going to look something like this, and we're going to use those nice soft elbows to catch ourselves as we fall. Easy as pie. So you've just figured out how to do backside power slides. Maybe you haven't. Either way, we're going to talk about the front side option, as most skaters tend to have a preference. One turn is easier than the others. There's no right or wrong. There's just the way you like to do it. So we're going to break down the front side power slide just like we did the backside and give you a couple tips to get through it. We're going to start off exactly the same way we have. Again, remembering that our shoulders dictate where we're going to turn. And what I like to think about with my front side power slide is called the chair. As you initiate your power slide, you want your weight back to allow the board to continue moving as if you're sitting in a phantom chair. Not only does it look cool, it's going to help you stay committed and ride that trick all the way through. Let's see what it looks like. Let's troubleshoot that front side 180. Oftentimes, it's hard to commit that back foot push out, but that initial push is essential to letting our wheels break free and start their slide. One thing that helps me is I think about where my weight is located on the board, and I often find myself using the term de-weight. This doesn't mean that our feet are actively leaving the board. However, it does mean we're transferring weight up. The less weight that's on your board, the easier it's going to be to kick it out. So, as you consider that front side power slide, give a little push with the back foot after your shoulders are turned, and you're going to want to lift the weight from that back foot and have it on your front foot. So, the way I think about it, back foot initiates, front foot controls. Go ahead, try it out, and see what you get. Now that you've mastered your front side and back side 180 power slides, or reverts as they're seldom called. Seldom, they're often called reverts. Now that you got them, we're going to talk about speed checks. And this is what happens when we kick the back of our board out, slide as far as we can, but resist the urge to follow through to fakie. We're actually going to suck the board back in and continue moving forward. To do these power slides, we're going to want a higher degree of speed, much like all the tricks I've mentioned. Faster is easier, just a little bit scarier. So we're going to drop in our quarter pipe, and again, we're using our shoulders to initiate. With the front side, we want to sit in the chair, ride it out as long as we can, and then we're going to transfer that weight back over the front foot, allowing the tail to swing under us and keep moving forward. Let's see if we can do it. All right, we're going to test things out today with a front side, and then we're going to talk about back side. Now that we've got a feel for front side power slides, we're going to talk about back side. As I mentioned earlier, when you're learning your 180s, coach prefers a backside, but the opposite is true with our speed checks. Because the commitment is high and the ability to not follow through into the 180 is difficult. In general, remember, your shoulders dictate where you're going, and you want to keep your center of gravity right in the pit of your stomach. So we're going to kick out the back foot, use our arms to keep our balance, and then we're going to try to lean forward and bring the board back. Let's see what we can do. One final bit of advice for you as you embark upon your power sliding adventure. Remember, balance is key and commitment is key. If you're having trouble initiating those back wheels to slide, what I recommend is begin by doing some deep carves on your board. That's when we're leaning toe side and heel side, allowing the trucks to turn. As you get comfortable with that serpentine motion, consider the apex of that turn and give your board a little nudge off the back foot. You'll begin to do what we call wheel farts. And that's your back wheel sliding on the ground, making a bit of a perp. That's going to get you comfortable with the feeling of breaking traction. The more comfortable you are with that feeling, the more you can commit and start to do those 180s or those nice long power slides. The rest now is up to you. And if you have questions, drop them in the comments below and we'll do our best to help you work through it. It's important to note, especially for power slides, that the type of wheels you're riding are critical for how easy or difficult it is to break traction. Traditional hard skate wheels in the 99 to 100 durometer are going to be easier to break out because the material itself is harder. There's going to be less grip, thusly giving you more slip. If you find yourself riding longboards or very soft durometer wheels, that softness is going to make it harder to break traction. The same rules apply using your shoulders to create that momentum and kicking the back foot out. However, you're going to have to do more work de-weighting. The less weight's on those sticky wheels, the easier they're going to be to slide. If you're dead set on learning these power slides and just not getting there, try learning with a harder wheel first and then adapting that feeling to your soft wheels. When you're power sliding with a nice soft wheel, it's going to create more friction and slow you down faster. Ghosts. When you're using a soft wheel, it's going to create more friction and it's going to slow you down faster. So plan accordingly and adjust for the hardness of your wheels. If you're anything like Coach, you like doing cool things with minimal effort. So right now, we're going to talk about how to go up and down little curves and ledges without even sweating the ollie. The first skill we're going to need to learn is called a crab walk, and that's learning to have dexterity on both the tail and nose of our boards. It's essentially crab walking both regular and nollie. So we're going to break that down, and then we're going to show you how to take that skill and apply it to little curves and ledges. Let's take a look. To start off on your crab walk adventure, we're going to use our squash the bug foot placement, meaning our back foot's going to be on our tail, perpendicular, and our front foot's going to live comfortably right on those front bolts. Go ahead and squash that bug. Once we're down on all four wheels, we're going to want to inch our front foot all the way out to the nose of our board. This way we have leverage on both the tail and the nose. Go ahead and warm up by using your shoulders and bending your front foot to do a standard kick turn. If that's comfortable, you're going to do the reverse. You're going to point your back shoulder and pivot on your nose. I recommend getting comfortable forward and, if you can, backwards. Again, shoulders will initiate and those legs are going to follow through. So, Get comfortable crab walking and know that yes, it looks as cool as it feels. Using those core competencies developed by crab walking, we're going to try coming up a small ledge. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure our feet are securely placed all the way out on the tail and all the way out on our nose as we roll towards the object. We're going to start by bending that front knee. That's going to allow the front of the board to lift up, and as soon as those front wheels are over the threshold, you're going to transfer that weight from the back to the nose, and we're going to lift the back wheels up, thusly bringing us up onto the surface we're trying to ride. Let's see what it looks like. As you get comfortable crab walking yourself up and down items, consider throwing a little flair in there. Much like a kick turn or any other trick, you can start to do nollie pivots, fakie pivots, front side, back side, or even crab walking to manual. We'll show you a couple of our favorite variations. Feel free to get creative and maybe show us some of the variations you've created. Let's take a look. Quick. So go ahead and get as comfortable as you can using that little crab walk to get up your neighborhood curbs and what have you. Next week, we're going to talk about how to go from the top and ride off obstacles. So until then, we're going to move on to some of our other tricks. All right, team. As you get comfortable with those power slides and those crab walks, we're going to throw a new trick into the mix. That's right, we're talking about shove-its. Let me clarify. We're not talking about pop shove-its because Coach is bad at them. The difference is whether or not our tail is making contact on the ground, creating that fabled pop. So we're going to learn the basic shove-it where we don't need pop, we have minimal chances of flipping our board over, and really we're going to take what we learned with those power slides and apply them to this trick. A shove-it, simply put, is initiating the board to spin 180 degrees while you lift your feet and continue in your regular stance. Like all tricks in skateboarding, shove-its can be done backside, front side, nollie, switch, fakie. So lots of possibilities out there. We're not even going to broach 360 shove-its or big spins today. We're just talking about the classic shove-it. So let's get started. Now there are countless video tutorials out there in internet land that are going to teach you to do the shove-it. None of them are wrong, none of them are right. I'm going to teach you the way Coach likes to shove it. If it doesn't work for you, click around and find one that speaks to you. But for this shove-it, what I'd like you to consider is initiating the initial spin with your back foot. Much like those backside power slides, you're going to point your shoulder a little bit, your back foot's going to scoop the board, and we're going to jump, allowing our body to leave the board and giving the board room to spin. Let's take a look at a stationary shove-it. One of the most difficult aspects of the shove-it is tracking the board while you're in the air. Some people prefer learning stationary. Some people find it's easier to learn while moving. You get to go ahead and try out what you think is going to work best for you. Coach recommends a little bit of forward momentum as it gives the board more space forward for you to spot your landing. Shove-its can be scary and they can be hard, but if you remember the rules of falling, keep your joints loose, anticipate the fall, be ready for it when it comes, get back up and try it again. So what we're going to do now is show you a couple moving shove-its, and then we're going to work down the list and give you an idea of some of the other options out there. Well, Coach is proud of the work you guys have put in. You've given me very few headaches. So, like we did last week, Coach is going to share one of his favorite tricks with you. Today, we get to do a little bit of skate trick arithmetic. That's math for those of you who don't know. We're going to take the power slide we learned earlier, we're going to add it to the shove-it, and we're going to create a shove-it slide. So, to do the shove-it slide, we're going to initiate a backside 180 power slide. And just as we're wrapping up our 180, we're going to quick switch our feet, thusly bringing in the shove-it element. To learn this trick, Coach recommends doing them up a bank. However, flat lands just fine too. But remember, more likely than not, you're going to want to be comfortable with both your shove-it and your power slide to try this trick. However, in skateboarding, there are no hard rules, and you might be that one that's just better at hard tricks. Either way, make sure you've got a good flat surface to work on this trick, free of any obstacles. And remember, we're gonna fall, but we're gonna get back up. So let's take a look at the shove it slide. As I mentioned earlier, Coach learned this one on a bank. So that's the way we're gonna show it to you first. To get comfortable with the shove it slide, I first want you to practice doing a backside power slide. And the way Coach thinks about it is this isn't a bank, this here's a big tasty wave, and we're gonna surf it. So as you approach the bank, wind up those shoulders and think about power sliding up the ramp, not at the apex. Let's take a look at what it should look like. Once you're comfortable with that backside power slide, as we near the top of our trick, we're gonna lift our feet, give them a quick shimmy, and we're gonna ride down regular, thusly creating our shove it slide. One thing to note again is that back foot's gonna initiate our slide. We wanna de-weight, and that front foot is gonna give us the control as to whether or not our slide is fast, slow, or right in the sweet spot. Let's see if Coach has still got it. If you find yourself mastering the shove it slide up a bank, or if you don't have a bank, feel free to try it out on flat ground. In Coach's opinion, it's a little easier on the bank as your speed's gonna slow down, but if you're comfortable with that backside power slide, you should be able to pull one off. Well, I don't know about you all, but Coach has worked himself up a little bit of a sweat, and that's the sign of a good skate session. So, before I pass out, I'm gonna send you on back to your teacher. Keep skating, keep stretching. We'll see you next week. That's it for today. Good work. All right, thanks, Coach. Hopefully, those tips are helping you guys out a little bit. We're thankful for Coach for spending his time with us. Make sure that you get out there, stay safe, stay socially distant, but keep riding your skateboard, and we'll be back next week with some more skate class videos for you guys. We'll see you then.